Greetings, everyone. Brother Ravana Noon back once again with a new video. This one will be discussing that you are a god. You are the god when it comes to your life. Now, this may sound a little controversial or ruffle feathers of those who still would like to worship. All these years I've been walking down the occult path, and specifically the left-hand path. Individuals still feel like they have to worship something. Whether it's gods, goddesses, a one god. And the sad truth is that no one, and I mean no one, can verify if any of these things exist. The only way they could even get around to trying to verify something like that is in their subjective realm. It's a personal experience, and your subjective realm should not be used by individuals to try to verify or prove of something or someone's existence. It is a personal thing that happened within your mind, and it can project itself in front of you, in front of your eyes, where you can declare that you've seen one of these gods or goddesses, things of that nature. One thing we have to all understand is the mind is all. All is mental, mental is all. All is mind, mind is all. Everything starts and begins with the mind. Quantum physics has even proved that when you look at an individual, your mind actually takes what is, let's say, 1,000 vibrations of that one individual and focuses it into one object, one individual, one thing. But in reality, on a quantum level, there's thousands of vibrations of that individual. Your mind focuses on one thing. This is interesting to know because when working with spirits or working with so-called gods or goddesses, it can become a tricky thing, especially when you're trying to prove to others that you had this experience. This is why I don't usually speak about my experience. Brother Beniti won't, and others that I know will not speak about their experience in a general or a mass level, because it's a personal experience. It's something that happened personally, usually happen within your mind. Trying to prove that to somebody else can cause a lot of dissension, can cause chaos, can cause feathers to be ruffled. Your objective universe is what usually we all see and interact with. Your subjective is what you experience within your rituals, within your mind, within things of that nature. You are the only God. Takes all of these so-called gods, goddesses, demons, archetypes, and it puts it to the side. And it makes you understand that you, as the only God, are in control of your life. You control every aspect of your life. You control the events that happen in your life. Because as the master scientist or the God of your life, you create situations in your life through your thought process, through your actions, which creates consequences, which creates things either that are beneficial or contrary to you. But one has to understand, especially in the left-hand path, That the individuated consciousness is just that, an individual consciousness. You are raising yourself up to be a God. You're raising yourself up to be responsible for everything that happens in your life, whether it's perceived as good or bad, which are really not existing. They're perceptions on how things happen in our life, and we perceive it a certain way based upon our programming, conditioning, religious upbringing, cultural upbringing, etc., etc., etc. This is what we perceive as either being good or bad, but they really don't exist. As Principles of Tuity states, they're all varying degrees or vibrations or frequencies of the same thing. Just different vibrational degrees of the same thing. And it's all based on your perception, how you look at things. I share this because when I speak to individuals, they always want to externalize things. There's always a point where they want to externalize things. They want Kali to be real. They want Shango to be real. Now, there's been stories that Shango existed at one time, walked the earth. That may or may not be true, but the fact is they're not here in the physical anymore. So everything and every interaction you have with Shango really takes place within your mind and your subjective universe. Now, how you're able to kind of like share experiences that are similar in the subjective realm and not try to convince others is when you do communal rituals or group rituals, because people all will experience something at that ritual, but they'll experience it in their own way. So you understand that's the uniqueness about things. You still will experience at the ritual certain energies or vibrations or consciousness, but you're experiencing in your own unique way. But at the ritual, we can all verify we felt something, but this is how I felt it. So what happens is you have to understand that you can't go around trying to convince people that what you saw in your dream is real. It's your dream. And the dream 90% of the time is symbols that are relating information to you because your conscious mind is too distracted. So symbols is the language of the spirit because it goes directly to your subconscious and unconscious mind, which is able to interpret those symbols to understand what the message really is. So what happens now is if we realize that I'm the only God, then we start to work things according to create results that are more beneficial than detrimental to us. We start to take our circle of friends or whatever you want to call them, associates, and we begin to eliminate a bunch of them that are contrary to what we're about. It may seem cruel, it may seem harsh at first, but it's necessary. I'll just put it that way. So when we really get to this point, we have to understand you as the only God, when it comes to your ritual, you're not externalizing. You may utilize an archetype like Kali, an archetype like Shango, an archetype like Set or Satuk, but you're not worshiping them. It's a difference. You're not worshiping them. You're using their symbolism that activates certain parts of your psyche that relate or resonate with what those symbols mean, and it activates certain parts of yourself that are lacking or deficient in to assist you in your growth. That's really what it comes down to. Now, as an individual, you as an individual have all the power and potential to experience what you need to. You can create your own experiences for your growth. You don't have to wait for some external situation to occur, from some accident to occur. You can create the situation because you're the master scientist. This is why one of the most potent and effective forms of magic, sorcery, is sex magic. Because now you have two individuals who, if they've worked on themselves, have become a god in themselves, sharing that power to bring about a result in the physical plane. When you are in the state of sex magic, you're trying to achieve and cultivate the most powerful and potent sexual energy that you could achieve before the act of intercourse, coitus, intercourse. You're trying to cultivate your sexual energy, reach a high peak of it. So when you come together and you actually partake in the coitus, intercourse, you reach a most powerful orgasmic state, which then fuels your desire and intention and magnifies it so it can materialize in the physical plane a lot faster than sometimes doing regular rituals, ceremonial rituals, things of that nature. Sex is potent. Sex is power. Sex has creative energy and destructive energy, depending how you use it. Sex is what sex is. But the problem is that religion has done a great job of restricting sex, controlling sex, and making people feel wrong for doing it. For example, if a man goes out there and sleeps around, he gets mad props. He gets dabbed. He gets all kinds of shit for it. A woman does it, she's called a slut. That's man's way of controlling women. But yet, it's okay for him to do it. Well, if men really understood women, the feminine energy, they would understand that women have the same exact desires as you do, and they would love to act upon those desires, but it comes with more consequences than you men realize. A woman carries the baby. Your asses don't. You guys, some of y'all just disappear and become real scary sissies, not taking care of your responsibility. A real man takes care of their responsibilities. You fathered, you produced that child, you conceived that child, so that is your responsibility. But a lot of men just want to nut, take off, and never take care of their responsibility. So a woman has to be more selective when she interacts in a sexual situation. So what happens is, it's not that she doesn't desire or want things sexually. She does. She has a strong appetite for it, but she has to be more selective. 1. 2, she has more consequences that come out of it, not just the child, but the backlash. Oh, you're this, you're that. So you understand, they get labeled for a lot of things. Men, you don't. A lot of times you won't. So the problem is, how do you help women break free from the conditioning and control, but yet let them empower themselves? See, that's a tricky situation. Women are strong sexual beings. Now, one thing I learned, and this is going back to the beginning of it, is subjective, so I'm just going to share this. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to accept it. It's just what I learned at the ritual we just did, the ritual of the 9 angles in Miami. I have to share this It may resonate with some of y'all. It may seem strange. Whatever. I don't care. It's subjective. I'm just sharing. I'm not asking y'all to believe anything. I know what I saw. I know what I accepted from it. And I know what I learned from it. So I'll just keep it like that. But the original beings on this planet were androgynous beings. And they had both genders. Some people call it hermaphrodite. No, they're more than a hermaphrodite. They really are androgynous. They would have, let's say, a female face with breasts and a penis, or they would have a man's face with breasts, vagina, and so many other combinations. This is what I saw at the ritual. They were androgynous beings. And from there, women mutated out of that first because they were the first to be able to have or conceive a child within their body. Most of these androgynous beings gave birth outside of the body, meaning they laid eggs. Yeah, it may sound strange, but in time, scientists are starting to prove things like this. So, what happened is religion took those original androgynous beings and flipped them into demons and depicted them as demons. And then the gods that were the true gods, let's say the androgynous being, became demons, and then they created some new gods to control you, deceive you, and enslave you. Now, when you work with Baphomet, which is a symbol of androgyny, which is a symbol of totality, which is a symbol of self-mastery, which is a symbol of dark and light, mastering the dark and the light, a symbol of mastering the masculine and feminine energies, which is a symbol of activating the black flame, the intellect, to see that you are originally an androgynous being, and you must master the masculine and feminine within you, not separate and cause gender wars like it's happening today. So, when you work sex magic, what you're really doing is becoming an androgynous being, because there's a situation or point in sex magic, if you're not a pussy, brothers, where you take the role of the feminine energy. I didn't say you become a female and you become sissy and weak and soft. You take the role of the feminine energy. Usually it is the position where a woman is, they call it the cowboy position or the cowgirl position or whatever the hell they want to call it, where the woman's on top. I call it the lotus position. The jewel in the lotus. Anyways, this is a whole nother story. Where she is on top. She now takes the aggressive energy, the masculine energy, and you become more the submissive or passive energy. Now, if you're not willing to do this, you're never really going to understand the power of sex magic and the power of androgyny and bringing the masculine and feminine within harmony within yourself. So, I'm just sharing. Doesn't mean that you stay like that forever, because you will regain your masculinity and she will regain her femininity when that act is over. But this point right here is a point of androgyny, and when you really open yourself up, prepare yourself for this act, you will reach a high level of consciousness that alters your state of consciousness, where you will start to see some crap, some real deal crap. Not just your results coming through your intention, but you'll start to tap into some serious conscious, and you'll start to make contact with the demonic beings. That's right, I said demonic beings. D-A-E-M-O-N-I-C. The super genius, supernatural beings that have been depicted as demons. They were horned gods or goddesses. They were the original demonic beings, the creative supernatural beings that originated from the black hole, where we all come from. But that's another story for another time. However, you will make contact with these demonic beings and you will see them. They basically, some of them created the concept of succubus, incubus or succubi, incubi. Listen, in my subjective realm, I have a succubi. Badass. I mean, big titties, fat ass, sexy, dark skin, beautiful with horns, the whole nine, sexy. But I control her, so don't believe this. Oh, the succubi, suck you dry and do no. Only if you're weak and let them. I'm the master in my subjective realm, so I control the succubi. She's my worker. You understand? But in reality, she's more an androgynous being than just a female demon, as they would say. So when you tap in like that and you are in an active coitus and you both reach that orgasmic state, you will alter your state of consciousness and see some things. Your desire and intention is fueled beyond any ritual you can do. But you will also tap into an altered state of consciousness where you start seeing interdimensionally and making contact with some of these beings. That's the true power of sex magic beyond what most people will say, because some people just doing it to bust a nut. That's the problem. Some people just want to bust a nut, and they're using sex magic as a tool to get that yoni, that vagina. Or they're using sex magic to get your penis. I cut through the chase. I'm like, look, if you just want it, let me know. I personally do not care about, this extracurricular stuff about your current situation in life and things like that. If it's an act for sex magic, if you're open-minded and you're able to discuss things with your partners or new partners or whatever the case, then you roll from there. You're here on the planet to enjoy life and to experience life. Just because you're in a relationship or a marriage or a partner does not mean that you're not going to desire other people. You're going to desire people, sometimes even more than your own mate at times, because they're fresh and new. And you need that sometimes. You need that sometimes to bring spice back into your relationship, as well as to charge you up to feel like a new being again. This may sound strange to some of you. I personally don't care. Experience some life. Get some experiences, then talk to me. Don't talk to me if you haven't had certain experiences and you want to get deep in sex magic. You can't be scary in sex magic. Especially vampiric sex magic, which is a whole nother level, which is a level of absorbing energy from your partner and taking that energy to charge yourself up and zoom you to a whole nother level of consciousness, a whole nother level of experience. So you have to be the God in your life if you're going to work this. Because let me get this right. When you work sex magic, not everybody is there to help raise you to a higher level. Some people are there for themselves. Whatever they tell you, that's what they tell you. Some people are all out for themselves and will convince you that they're there for this sex magic act, and they're not. Some of them want love. Some of them want a relationship, but they're convincing you that they're all good with sex magic. Bullcrap. Deal with your issues before you get into sex magic. Deal with your emotional issues. Deal with your relationship issues. Deal with your personal hang-ups. Deal with all that, because all that will be exposed and will come to the surface. The saddest thing is that women have been made to feel that they have to have some emotional connection to an individual when they're about to have or perform sex magic. That could be risky because your emotions become vested in the moment, and you can confuse lust for love. That's why I tell people, for the first 3 months to a year, when you first meet somebody, and you start growing, you haven't had intercourse, but you're starting to feel your emotions tie in, and you haven't had intercourse in that first year, you really are not in love. You're in lust. Until you bust that first nut or nuts or orgasms. A lot of y'all don't orgasm. It's mostly nuts, but that's a different story. you really don't know if you're in love. You're in lust. Once you bust those orgasms or nuts and you really unmask the individual, you really start to find out this was just all sex thing or it was love. This is why people's feelings get hurt. This is why people always get angry and hurt each other, because they're lying to each other. I love you, girl, or I love you. You know, the female tells the man she loves him. It's all lust based. You're just horny creatures waiting to get that first act of sex with her or him. And what happens is you convince yourself you love him because the lust, the desire so much for a person will begin to transform itself into what seems like love for the person. Then you get that first nut busted off and you start to say, whoa, I really don't love this person. This was all a sexual thing. Now here comes the hurt. Here comes the breakup. Okay? Here comes all the problems with it. You got to deal with that before sex magic. Okay? You got to deal with all of those situations and issues before sex magic. If you don't, it's going to backfire on you some way, somehow. Sisters, you can't be afraid of indulging in your fantasies. Period. If you're in a relationship and you desire someone else, you got to be real with your relationship and let them know that. Because when you do things behind a person's back, it does come with consequences and can backfire. You have to be real. If they're not real enough with you and you with them to accept that reality, y'all don't need to be together, because eventually it's going to show up down the line and it's going to cause strife in your relationship. Deal with it beforehand. That's what a God does. A God is in control of their own life in their own ways, and they are real, and they will take responsibility for everything in their life. You are your own God. Okay? You are your own God. So these demons, demonic beings, these so-called archetypes of gods cannot exist without you. They come through your mind and appear as real because you created the reality that you accepted them to be real. But if you don't accept them to be real, they can't exist. All is mind, mind is all. As the Emerald Tablets of Tahuti, Alchemy for Personal Transformation by Dennis William Hawke says, there's an important part in there where they asked Tahuti, so you're talking about God. So what exactly do you mean by God? And he goes on to say that we can never understand the one thing and the one mind. So we created that concept as a God, but that wasn't enough, so we created more gods. And then more and more gods. But it all comes from the one mind, one thing. The one mind, one thing is you. The one thing is you. The one mind is your black flame, your intellect. Intellect to be able to create life or destroy life. Intellect to cultivate or to eliminate. You're that God. Always have been. Always will be. But because you can't understand you as being a God, you try to create other gods outside of yourself. And more gods as being real, and you get further away from yourself. Further and further away from yourself. So sex magic is one of the acts that brings you closer back to your true self as a God. As the one true God. So, there's more I would like to share about sex magic. I do some Skype classes with individuals here and there. Let me just say this. I will always start where you're at. I don't have a curriculum. I don't have none of that. I start where you're at. Because what happens is individuals want the sex magic and bypass their issues. That the first thing I do is start bringing up the issues, sexual hangups, the emotional issues, things of that nature. I give them rituals that I've created and used. And some of it's been effective for some people. Some others, I don't know. I haven't heard from them. But it's been effective for some people. And, many of them have said it brings up things that they didn't know. They were working to get one result, and it brought up a whole nother can of worms of issues and problems and things that they didn't realize was there. Well, all of us have buried issues. Some of us are older, some of us are younger. You have as many issues as the time or age you've been on this planet. That you don't get rid of that overnight. It takes years of hard work to deal with that. Do you understand? So you have to really, really understand that to work sex magic, you have to be your own God. You have to understand that you have to be responsible for your life. You have to be responsible for creating your life. You have to ritualize your life. And the rituals you work should be for greater you and a better life. Whatever you see that as. So, work that sex magic. But be real with yourself. Are you working it just to bust a nut? Or are you working it for some serious growth, transformation, finances, whatever you need? Or are you just working it because wherever the spirit guides you, whatever you're supposed to get out of it is what you get? You got to ask yourself that, and you got to deal with that reality. There's so much stuff I would like to share, but we'd be here many videos, many hours on how to stimulate somebody, how to seduce somebody, how to, activate certain portions that have been dead within. I mean, we could go on and on. But that's for another day, another time. You have to be your own God. And if you're going to work sex magic, you definitely have to be your own God. Because without it, you're setting yourself up for failure. And there's booby traps along the way. You think you're ready for the sex, but your emotions are still not in check by you. They will come out. And you'll find yourself desiring, wanting this person more than just the act of sex magic. It means you have deep embedded issues that you haven't dealt with. So, I'm going to finish off this video on that note. Class, we were supposed to have a talk show tonight. Awakening Universal Minds talkshow.com, but that's been canceled due to the unfortunate passing of my good brother Beniti and his father. So Brother Beniti has to take care of a lot of things for that. And I would suggest he takes time away, which we've talked about. He knows, which he's doing, because it's a tough situation when someone passes. No matter how much spiritual knowledge we study, no matter what, it's still a shocking turn of events that happen that we have to deal with in our own personal way. So no matter how deep we think we are, you're never really ready for anything like that. You make peace with it in time as it's happening, but you're not really ever fully ready. So that's been canceled. So if you want to reach me, you can reach me at darkoccultist99@outlook.com. Hope to hear from some of y'all. Peace.